What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode here of the Desai Guys Football Forum. I'm one of your co-hosts, I'm Desai, joined as always by my good friend, my good buddy, the other half of this, guys, Mr. Tad Desai. And Tad, we're continuing our draft coverage here. So we just covered the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl in our last sort of mini episode. We're going to try and sprinkle a few of these in. We may get some YouTube shorts as well, so a minute or less. So we'll see about that. And of course, we'll still have our standard episodes of maybe 40 minutes to an hour or so. But yeah, we want to give you some quick draft content here in about 20 minutes or less. And yeah, now we're going to cover the East-West Shrine Bowl. Tad, what'd you think about it? You got any good notes of overall game?
It was funny because you mentioned this in our last episode, which, by the way, if you want to go back and listen, I highly recommend, because the NFLPA Bowl is full of, lesser school. And I know people are going to be like, lesser schools, smaller schools. We'll go with that. Smaller school players. And this game, I was shocked at the amount of players, and obviously, yes, I'm going to do a deeper dive on this as the draft season goes along. But there were a lot of names in there that I recognized, and I was shocked that weren't involved in the Senior Bowl. So there were a lot of winners, a lot of losers that, like I said, we are definitely going to take a deeper dive on, because there are a lot of players that are definitely draftable that played in this game. So overall, I was pretty happy. There was some sloppy offensive play, but overall, I was interested. Let's go with that word. I was interested in the result of this game.
And partnering with our good friends at BetOnline will leave you beyond interested, and you'll always have a great time with them, because BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. You'll always find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, game trends at BetOnline. And as your continued source for all sports wagering information, BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and giveaways all season long. Always the fastest, easiest way to bet on all your favorite sports and events, whether that's the NFL, the NBA, MLB, NHL, MMA, tennis, boxing, golf, NCAA sports as well. I'm pretty sure they're going to have some great odds for the draft when that starts getting closer. So head to BetOnline today on your computer or mobile device and join, and you can receive a 50% of a welcome bonus with your first deposit. Just make sure to use our promo code BELIEVE, capital BLEAV, and you can receive a 50% of a welcome bonus on top of your first deposit. Once again, that promo code is BELIEVE, capital BLEAV, and you'll receive your rewards. BetOnline, where the game starts. So, Ted, we already sort of talked about it in our intro. We're going to be talking about the East-West Shrine game in today's episode. It happened pretty recently. As of recording, the game happened yesterday. So, this is going to be
about 24 hours ago, yeah.
It's going to be kind of like an instant reaction sort of thing here. So very similar to what we did with the NFLPA Collegiate Bowl. We're going to give you one winner that left from this game and the week of practice, and also one loser. But like we sort of mentioned before, just because we're sort of labeling these guys as winners and losers after this game, it does not mean that we don't think that they're good prospects. They still have a lot to go as far as this draft offseason is concerned, the draft season, I should say specifically. So they may get invites to the combine. Obviously, they got their pro days. There's a lot of opportunity for them to raise their stock, even if we label them a quote-unquote loser in today's episode. And if they're labeled a winner as well, there could be a lot of things that can, be a detriment for their draft stock going into, heading into the end of April here, sort of thing. So, Tad, let's start with some of the guys that probably just didn't impress as much during this week of the East-West Shrine Bowl practice, as well as at the game. So give me a guy who you're calling a, loser after all was said and done.
Well, so this is a guy that it was funny. I was looking at another prospect, and because of this guy's performance, he caused this prospect that I was looking at to suffer. And the prospect that I was looking at was Dorian Thompson-Robinson, the UCLA quarterback. And he didn't do terribly. He didn't do great. I don't really think he affected his stock much at all during the game. But the one thing I noticed, I was like, God, this guy is under a lot of pressure. And I swear to God, I am not just saying this because he went to a rival school. Once you are out of that rival school, I don't care. I truly don't care. I am unbiased. My God, Galvin Connor, the offensive tackle out of Baylor, it was very interesting to watch the Shrine Bowl in this way too, because a lot of these players I have not scouted yet. This was my first, introduction to these players.
It's the same for a lot of these people who are out there scouting. It's just like, yeah, you probably haven't heard of a lot of these names when it came to the Collegiate Bowl as well as the East-West Shrine Game, probably even the Senior Bowl too. But exactly like you said, this is your first chance to sort of see these guys and sort of get you intrigued or like, why is this guy part of this game sort of thing. It's like you got two different takes, right?
And that's exactly it. And, it's the old saying, first impressions are everything. And my first impression of Connor are not good because this guy let everything through. If you are, vulnerable to the bull rusher, fine. We'll build you up. We'll strengthen you up in the NFL. That happens with literally every position, except for apparently Devontae Smith, who is still somehow skinny. And it's one of those things where it's like, okay, fine, we can work on that. If you're vulnerable to speed rushers or more, handsy rushers, okay, we can teach you technique. We can teach you how, good footwork and stuff like that. If you're vulnerable to both, that's too much work, in my opinion. Like, it's too much. And he was, especially in the game, in the actual East-West Shrine Bowl game, he was letting everyone by him. And so it's just, as of now, I need to do more scouting on him, obviously. But my first impression on him is like, I don't even think he's worth drafting. And again, like Amir said, like, that's not a final decision. Things may change the more scouting I do on him, and I will do more scouting on him as the months go on. But my first impressions were really, really bad because that dude looked like, my first impressions of him are he might work out as guard because there were times where you could tell he could, handle a rusher. But if a guy has speed on him, he got beat every time. So I was not impressed with Connor at all. And it's just, he's got to show me some good things on tape to convince me that he is capable of being an NFL starter.
So it's good that you brought this up because you mentioned that he played tackle during this game, right?
Yes. Yeah. He played left tackle.
So I think I know a lot of times when they do these, the combine and obviously these collegiate bowl all-star games and stuff like that, sometimes they play a lineman or a certain player out of position because they want to see, like, is there potential that we can use this guy as a swing lineman, use him on the inside as well as the outside. It's like, so yeah, maybe in this case, if he's a guard, like, I don't know much about him yet. This is very, intro sort of level. We'll get deeper into this as this months sort of go along here, but just like, maybe that could be a situation too, where it's like, maybe they're testing him at tackle. If that's his native position, maybe, like I said, once he gets to the NFL, maybe he's more suited for the interior of the offensive line as opposed to being on the outside.
They did the same thing with Quinn Miners at the Senior Bowl, where they would switch him between guard and tackle. And every time he played tackle, I was like, I don't like him. And every time they put him at guard, I was like, I love him. Exactly. And it's like one of those things. So yeah, and we're looking now. Quinn Miners is a very solid starting NFL guard. So you're right. And like I said, like we cannot emphasize this enough. This is instant reaction type of stuff. Exactly. So we're going to do more scouting. So if you're a Baylor fan, do not call me a TCU homer or anything like that. I promise you, I will scout him. I will do my full homework on him. But my first impression, not great. He needs to do a lot to improve on that.
For sure. So really quick before I get into my loser for after the East-West Shrine game here is that let's get into a little bit of the notes about this game. So, it was recently held, like I said, yesterday in Las Vegas, Nevada. So
I was shocked to see
Stadium. It was at Allegiant Stadium. The West team was coached by Troy Brown of the New England Patriots. He is their current wide receivers and kick returners coach, and he was able to defeat the East team coached by Marquise Williams of the Atlanta Falcons, special teams coach. If you're wondering, yes, Arthur Smith and Bill Belichick and the rest of the coaching staff were there in sort of supervisory roles to sort of advise these guys as the week went along and through the game as well. So they were both on hand. And yeah, the West team won 12-3. It was a very defensive heavy game. It was
Yes, it
won by
was.
all field
They're not
goals.
even allowed to blitz.
Yeah, that's part of it too. But just that led to the kicker for the West team, Jake Moody out of the University of Michigan,
I was gonna
named the
quiz you on
offensive
that.
player of the game, going 4 for 4 on field goals, including 2 from 50 plus. So he was able to nail those. And then on the defensive player of the game, it was the safety for the West team, Trey Dean III, a safety out of Florida. He got a crucial red zone interception for the opposing team. So he's able to stop a potential scoring drive in the end of the first half, which led to him having a really good day overall as well as practice. So Trey Dean's another name that we're just going to slip in there as a guy to sort of keep in mind here. And just as far as like, if you've never heard of the Shrine Bowl before, like, who's some notable alumni from this game? Well, I got you covered here. So Jimmy Garoppolo of the San Francisco 49ers and New England Patriots played in the East-West Shrine game. Zadarius Smith of the Green Bay Packers, the pass rusher, he's been in the East-West Shrine game. Chase Edmonds, the running back, formerly of the Miami Dolphins, currently with the Denver Broncos, he played in this game. Damar Hamlin, I mean, the big one, obviously, this season here. He played in this game. And I saved the best for last, Tad. Tom Brady. The recently retired Tom Brady played in the East-West Shrine game.
They were showing highlights of his East-West Shrine game in the first quarter. And I was sitting there going, it was a thing back then. Like, I didn't know it like stretched back.
It's been going on for a long time. It's been going on
for
a long time. I think it's since the 30s, if I remember correctly.
And my favorite part is one of the broadcasters goes, yeah, so Tom Brady got his NFL drafts, career started here. And ever since then, he has had a pretty solid career. I'm like, yeah, pretty solid career to say the least.
For sure. So I'm going to get into my loser here, and that's Mitchell Tinsley, the wide receiver out of Penn State, coming in at 6'1" and 205. Tinsley actually played in NFLPA Collegiate Bowl, who we just brought up here, and he actually had an impressive showing during practice and in that game. He continued a great practice week this week for the East-West Shrine game, but just unfortunately, the performance in the game did not lead to him having the best day. I think Tad sort of brought it up. The quarterback play overall was just not all that great during this entire game. Both sides, the East-West team as well as the West team. So that you can sort of chalk up as to why he did not have the greatest game. But I still think he has a lot of promise because, Tad, in 2021, he was on that Western Kentucky team with Bailey Zappi when he threw for nearly 6,000 passing yards, and he set the single season passing yard record in that same season. So Tinsley he was 8th in the nation with 1,402 receiving yards that year, as well as 5th in the nation in receiving touchdowns with 14. So I mean, this guy has a lot of potential. He looked really good at Penn State too, so I got a lot of promise with him, but just unfortunately, he was not able to show up during that game, maybe playing two games close together. Maybe that affected him a little bit, but just, yeah, I'm calling him a loser, unfortunately, in this game, but I still got a lot of promise for this guy, along with some of these winners that we're going to get to right here, right now. Dad, I'm going to pass it to you. Who's a guy that impressed you after this East-West Shrine game?
Well, real quick, I mean, this is not my pick, but just a real quick pick for a winner is Jake Moody. I mean, going into the draft, I had Noah Ruggles as my top kicker, but after what happened in obviously I'm blanking on which bowl game. What was the Final Four bowl game for Ohio State? I was too focused on the Fiesta Bowl for obvious reasons.
That's the Peach Bowl, right?
It was the Peach Bowl. You're correct. So after Ruggles missed that, field goal horrifically in the Peach Bowl, I was like, maybe he's not so good. And now Moody, with, like you said, being, weirdly the leading scorer, and now in the East-West Shrine Bowl, there's a chance that Moody is actually a lot of the team's number one kicker on the board. And you got to remember, a lot of teams draft kickers in the 4th or 5th round. So Moody really helped to stock this game. So that's just an interesting winner to keep your eye out for. But it was funny. My actual pick for winner is a guy that I mentioned last night on our episode, and I mentioned this because one of our guests that we had on the show previously would tweet out like, "Wow, this Arizona State guy looks really good," and I was like, "Okay, yeah, whatever. I'll deal with that." And then I was watching the game today and I'm like, wow, this Arizona State guy looks really good. And that Arizona State guy is Xazavian Valladay. And I'm not, or Valladay. And again, I'm going to get all these pronunciations right as we go along.
You got a couple months to go.
Yeah, hopefully. And God knows I'm going to need them. But first off, if you want to look it up, I'm not going to do it because it's bad podcasting, but look up how he spells Xavion, because I've never seen that in my life.
It's very interesting.
It's insane. But this guy, I mean, you were listing off alumni. This guy, I think, is this year's Isaiah Pacheco. where it's going to be a late round, running back, but a guy who can make an immediate impact. The way his field vision, his patience behind the line, his shiftiness, his ability just to wait for the play to develop and not panic. Like everything just looks so good. And it showed in his stats. He had 13 carries for 76 yards. That's 5.6 yards a carry. So, and of course, he didn't score a touchdown because no touchdowns were scored. But it was something where I was watching this guy and I was like, why have I not heard of him before? And that's why I can't speak on him more. And I'm almost mad that I can't speak on him more because he is a very exciting prospect that I cannot wait to watch his tape, because I really think that this dude has a lot of promise and is probably going to turn into one of my favorite sleepers in the draft.
Yeah, well, I don't doubt that maybe with his performance at the East-West Shrine game, he's probably going to get an invite to the Combine to further showcase his
He
skills. So,
absolutely should. He
yeah.
absolutely should.
Yeah, so I don't doubt that he'll probably be there so you could get a little bit more of an in-depth look at him, as well as obviously his pro day, because we still got a lot to go. We're still very early in the draft process. These sort of collegiate bowl games are sort of like a kickoff to like, okay, this is sort of like the draft season is starting now. So yeah, it's exciting times for sure. Excuse me. So I'm going to close out with what my winner from the East-West Shrine game, and that's Jose Ramirez. No, not Jose Ramirez from the Cleveland Guardians. This is Jose Ramirez, the edge rusher from Eastern Michigan.
He hit 30 homers last year.
He was part of the reason why we stayed a little bit competitive in our fantasy baseball league.
Yeah, a little bit. No, it's funny.
But honestly, I typed his name into Google, and that's the first thing that comes up because he is the bigger name.
There's a Senior Bowl prospect that I had a scout who shares the name with an MMA fighter, and I'm like, no, I don't want him. Yeah. Like, I needed this other guy.
But I'm talking about Jose Ramirez, the edge rusher out of the University of Eastern Michigan, coming in at 6'2" at 253. And we sort of talked about this. This was not an offensive game. It was a very defensive type of game. And when you have a guy like Ramirez, the reigning MAC Defensive Player of the Year, he totally showcased it during the game as well as all week in practice. Like, I mean, he was an absolute wrecker during this game. He lived in the opponent's backfield. Like, I mean, any one-on-one matchup that he had, he absolutely took him to school. There's nobody on the offensive line that could stop him. And yeah, when you come from a school like Eastern Michigan, it's like these are times where you sort of need to showcase your skills. And absolutely, because I brought this up during the Shrine Bowl, the Collegiate Bowl episode that we talked about yesterday. It's like when you have a guy like David Perales, who was a first team all Mountain West type of player who was in the running for conference defensive player of the year, he did not show up. And it's like, that was his chance to do that. Where in this case, Jose Ramirez absolutely did. And he definitely upped his draft stock after this game. I don't doubt that he'll probably get a combine invite as well, but just, yeah, he's a guy that's like, you take him in some of those middle rounds, maybe day 2 or early day 3. I'm leaning more towards day 3 just based on what I see. Yeah, but if he continues to improve his stock, I don't doubt maybe he could be a late day 2 type of guy. But just, yeah, I saw a lot of things from him that I really liked, and he could be a real difference maker at the next level as long as he continues trending in the right direction. So those are our picks for winners and losers from the East-West Shrine game. We already did the Collegiate Bowl, so make sure you turn back, check out that episode. And I think the big one, Tad, like I said, as of recording, we're going to be doing a live stream for the Senior Bowl tomorrow. It is happening tomorrow.
Tomorrow. Get some sleep, buddy. Get some sleep.
Exactly. It's going to be a fun day. We're going to be live streaming the entire event. It's going to be me. It's going to be Tad, obviously. We're going to be joined by 2 of our great friends of the LAFB network. That's Jamal Madney, Will Decker. They'll be giving their great advice and analysis on everything that's happening during the Senior Bowl, as well as, all the other prospects that we'd love to talk about. We're trying to get to as many as we can. But yeah, with the live stream, make sure you're interacting with us. You can talk to us through chat. You can hit us up through, various means. And we want to answer your questions live as we're going through. We're definitely going to get some quarter breaks. And obviously at halftime, we're going to get a lot of opportunities to answer your questions. If you need team strategy advice, like what do you think the Giants are going to do? What do you think the Texans are going to do with their 2 first-round picks? It's like we want to answer those questions. So don't be afraid to ask them. Tad will be monitoring the chat the best that he can. I'll be backing him up, of course.
I just learned there are going to be 5 YouTube channels, and I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah. So this should be fun times. So please join us. We'd love to have you, even if just for a small portion of the Senior Bowl. We'd love to hear your thoughts as far as your questions for what you think is going to happen. But to everything and anything else, you see the ticker down below. Just, make sure you're hitting us up on all of our social media handles. On Twitter, you can find me at Desai23. You can find Tad at Desai94. And of course, you can find the show handle at the Desai Guys. We're also on Instagram at the Desai Guys as well. So interact with us. We'd love to hear your questions throughout the entire draft season. What you think about the Collegiate Bowl? What you think about the Shrine Bowl? What are you going to think about the Senior Bowl? We'd love to hear all about it. Combine invites. I mean, anything and everything. We'd love to hear from you on social media. Hit that subscribe button wherever you listen to your podcast, whether that's on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify. You listen right on the LAFB Network website as well. And of course, you're watching us on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Always be up to date with all the videos that are dropping as well. So to everybody who's already doing all those things and much, much more, we really can't thank you enough.
Yeah, especially hit that subscribe button, because let's say you missed the Senior Bowl. You have stuff going on Saturday during the day. We get it. That live stream does not go away once we're done. It will be uploaded in its full entirety onto YouTube. So be sure to just check in later if you like all of our analysis. And, as always, guys, like, we are dropping a ton of stuff over the next couple of months with the draft coming up. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. And yeah, I hope to see a lot of you tomorrow, because I'm very, very excited for the Senior Bowl. So you know what? Let's do it, baby.